welcome everyone. I am Rashi Goel and I have with me today Dr. Saumya Badgayan. Dr. Saumya has over 2 decades of industry experience and she holds a master's degree in marketing and international trade for Symbiosis and a PhD in e-commerce from the University of Rajasthan. She is an expert in strategic HR, L&D and employee engagement. She is passionate about teaching and is a guest lecturer with the IIMs, IFEEL and the Indian Institute of Gems and Jewellery. She's also a contributor for Amazon's #1 bestseller, The Growth Hacking Book 2. Welcome, Dr. Saumya. Welcome to our interview series.
Thank you to the unicorn people, especially to Vandana and Rashi for having me here on this platform. Pleasure interacting with all of you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. So we'll jump right into it. And this was just a short intro about yourself. If you could tell us more about yourself and your journey to our viewers here.
Sure. Well, I was born in a family of bureaucrats, people who were very high up in the government jobs. So उस वक्त का एक माहौल होता था that all girls were typically, essentially, if you have an education, become a doctor, and boys used to, become engineers. So that was the whole premise of everything. What influenced me a lot is my buaji, because she was the first from the family, and that too way back in 70s when I was a little girl. I heard that she got her commercial flight pilot's license, and that was what actually propelled me to think that you can have a career trajectory which is not bound by what the society would essentially want you to be. So we come from Brahmin families, and Brahmins ka ek hi sole maqsad hota hai, bhai padh lo, सिवाय पढ़ाई के तुम्हारी जिंदगी में कुछ नहीं होना है. तो हमारी पढ़ाई चालू हो गई, and then I got my schooling done from Jabalpur, which is a small town in MP. And then I did my BSc also from Jabalpur. Then I did my PGDPM and I secured a gold medal in that. From there, the journey continued, and essentially it was like, "Arey, graduation ho gaya, ladki ki shaadi kar do." And then somehow my mother was a very forward thinker, and she said, "No, till the time she is not independent, we will not go that route." Mm-hmm. So then, I did my PGDPM, like I said, and then in the interim, I also sat for Symbiosis, got through, and well, that's the end of it. So then I got married in 2000, came to Mumbai. So the initial phase was again like, you are a very homely girl, you're made to, belo rotis and do all the stuff that the house would require of you. Kabhi kiya nahi tha life mein, but, ho gaya, kar liya. Like everyone adjusts. This was also a phase, a very beautiful phase. I was blessed with a girl in 2003, and then tragedy struck. So by that time I had started working in the corporates, and first tragedy struck was when Bin Laden made his plane fly in the World Trade Center, and we were the data warehousing for some of the big fours, and we were a startup at that point of time, and with that the entire business collapsed. Once that happened, dusra opportunity we started looking out. So this luxury opportunity aaya, and I was just talking to my husband at that point of time, should I not? And then he said, why not? If you want to explore and if you want to have a career, why not? So in 2002, I started my career with the luxury industry. And then in 2003, I was blessed with a girl child. We were very happy. We always wanted a girl. And then tragedy again struck us. In 2003, my husband was first time diagnosed with cancer. And then, life unfolds. It had its beautiful moments of triumphs. And then again, it was a sunken valley. So a lot of ups and downs, but we rocked it for 14 years. Then lost him in 2014. That was also the year when I got enrolled for my PhD program, completed in 2018. And in 2014 was the time that I transitioned from being into sales and I moved on into, the HR. And that's how this entire journey, to just sum it up. And that's how it happened.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, definitely the journey has had its own ups and downs, and you're absolutely rocking it today as we see it.
Thank you.
There's a lot of power that you have, and you have also inspired so many people with just that little bit of the story that you've shared with us. You also talked about your transition from sales and into, HR, and I'm sure both sides have had their own experiences for you. So if you could tell us in a few words as to how do these two sides of corporate strategy and HR and IR sort of complement each other?
So when I was into sales, a lot of human interactions used to happen. So that I firmly believe in that every dynamic and every department of an organization is doing HR and is doing sales, but in their own little ways. So while we from HR are actually selling the whole concept of the organization outward, to the people who are willing to become part of the organization, and also creating an image within the organization. The same thing, having experience in sales helped me. Now, when you are into sales, you understand a lot of nuances that get into, finding the right product, the right retail fit, and then creating a backup line of the entire, logistics to back it up along with the raw materials. So when you have that and the understanding of financials, that's where the whole game of coming into strategy happens. So you integrate all your knowledge, bring all of that sphere, and then you create a very concentrated forward journey for the organization. So that's where the entire gamut of corporate sales, the corporate strategy happened. While you are having the corporate strategy, irrespective of what the world may believe in, I feel that the human element is the most important aspect of delivering, understanding, and forwarding those strategies. So unless and until you don't have the right, people in the organization, your strategy will remain a dream, an unfulfilled dream, and sometimes, and not sometimes, rather a lot of times, will lead to a lot of frustration because there's no one who's, carrying it forward. So that's how this entire, merger and amalgamation of corporate strategy and HR happened in my portfolio.
Absolutely. I think that is also something which all of us essentially have to understand, like you were saying, that people are the most important aspect. We might have the best processes, the best product, or maybe, the best technology with us. But if you don't have the right people to drive all of those things, all your strategy will fall flat for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you also talked about you were working in a startup when the entire tragedy happened, and then you moved on to this, gems and jewelry business per se. And gems and jewelry, what we understand, is majorly an unorganized sector. And you have been a part of this transformation journey of your company moving from a more family-oriented business to a proper professionally driven corporate culture. Yes. So if you could throw some light on how was that transition and, what it takes to make that transition.
Rashi, a very, very good question. And this I've been asked a lot, that you are a professional, came out from Symbiosis, and what made you, join the jewelry industry? And when I told my mom that I'm joining a jewelry industry, she was like, वो सुनार के साथ बैठ के खटखट क्या करेगी? They couldn't think that it is such a large organization or such a large industry.
Yeah.
Yes, this industry is very misunderstood in more ways than one. Because our raw materials are not easily understood. B, the standardization of raw material, and specifically the gemstones, is very skewed. It's like, जो हम कहावत सुनते हैं, हीरे की परख जौहरी ही जाने. So वो जौहरी बनना, you have to be a jeweler to understand the diamonds. So that's the second part. And the third very important aspect, it's a very understated industry. Unlike an IT industry, which is right there on your face, this is more of a blue-collared oriented artisans and is tilted towards that side of the spectrum more. Now, when I joined this industry, the big daddies of this entire world, which is De Beers, they wanted to bring in a lot of corporate culture into this unorganized sector. So they did a lot of campus recruitments, and they forced the diamond tiers to then move, in their ways of conducting business. So they got us on board, and that's where we started working with them. Now, when we started working, I will say that I'm so blessed that Gold Star Jewellery, which is the company that I'm associated with, is very open-minded. They were not someone who would say that don't execute an idea, or they were not someone who would block us. The only thing and the only challenge was that they were saying yes to most of the things, but how many things would they, really imbibe in their business?
Yes.
So it took a while to break the mindsets, because what is also happening in the industry is that now you have 3 or 4 generations from the same family in the business. So to tie all those generations together, like you will have a grandfather who started the business, then you have the sons who have, expanded the business, and now the grandchildren would come in who want to be the change agent. So वो एक ad आता था ना, पूरे घर के बदल दूंगा. So these kids come with a lot of gusto and a lot of enthusiasm कि पूरा change कर देंगे, I've been through that, and I've studied there, and I want to change the entire face of the company and make it a Facebook or make it a Google. And that's where I tell them, in the maturity curve, you are where Google is, and then you have to, climb it. But on the whole, again, very, very honest people, if I can say, very sincere people, and they are absolutely, absolutely clued on to their business. Believe you me, Rashi, I have read most of the books on business. Through theories, through classroom studies, going through various speaker sessions. But what they have taught us is mind-blowing. Huge respect for them, because education is not that high in this industry, but the way that they understand business is stupendous. So, again, you have to have a lot of understanding from their thought process. Where are they coming from? Why is it that their thought process are like that? For example, why are they so understated? Why aren't they into brands? Why don't they want to, create a larger than life, image about themselves? So for them, the business is for the conduct of business and not for the show of it. So we are now trying to change those mindsets, because I also understand that to attract talent from known industry or people who are not from the community, within them, you need to create some amount of noise outside. And that is what we are doing.
Yeah.
Second is, when I spoke about the mind shift, so a lot of them are now taking courses with the IIMs, in the entrepreneurship kind of courses. So they are also widening their spectrum. Third, that I have been able to, somehow break into them is that look beyond the obvious. So they are also now into a lot of e-commerce, which was unheard of, because jewelry is something that you want touch, feel,
yes.
And ether mein wo possible nahi hota hai. But now they are doing all of that and much more. So that's how this entire, change and shift is happening.
That's actually very great to know, and like rightly said, that change also has to come from more of mindset change rather than just a process change. Like there's no set structure that you can put into, to create that transformation story and to successfully implement it. Because I think that's also a huge challenge, just not the transformation, but the implementation of it. And it's absolutely great to know that, you have people and you have the leadership who is undergoing trainings themselves and learning themselves and acknowledging the fact that there's a huge learning curve.
Absolutely.
That's very wonderful to know. I'm sure that a lot of people in the family-oriented businesses, if they are hearing, would get to know much more from this conversation.
Yeah.
You have also recently contributed to a book which is an Amazon bestseller, which is the Growth Hacking book too. If you could share with us how this has happened and what is it that you are trying to talk about from that book particularly.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. So we are about 100 authors who have gotten together to create, and to give our inputs for one of the chapters, So I've also contributed to that. The whole thought process behind the book is that, they wanted people to come on as a ready reference. So my chapter is on the challenges that the e-commerce business would have today, because I am a PhD with, in
Yes,
that,
e-commerce.
in e-commerce, in that genre. And it was my take on that, how would you manage the logistics, because that's very important. The turnaround of the inventory, again, very important. And how would you, create that cash flow in the pipeline for the sustainability of the business. So that's what my chapter talks about. And that's essentially how we are speaking in exact those terms and words. And also weaving, again, luxury and jewelry on an e-commerce platform. So how would you create that, a product line that is easily customizable? People can create, because jewelry is something which is very personal. So how would you give them access to customize things? So there are a lot of, things that is happening in the ether world, but this is an easier way of doing it and creating a whole business around.
Great. That's really nice, given that 100 contributors have come together and given their own take on, one business thing which they expertise on. That's absolutely amazing. So I think that's all. Thank you, Dr. Saumya. Thank you for giving us your time. But before I let you go, any message for all our viewers who are watching this video right now?
Since this is targeted to the entrepreneurs, I would, or the family business owners, I would say that the only thing that can sustain you for a long time is a continuous evolving mindset. Please stay focused on the business. There's no need for you to change the business line, but what you need to do is evolve your thinking that can imbibe a lot of changes. And because we are living in a VUCA world, so if you can adapt, you can be agile and create that resilience and resistance within the system, I think you will win the race always.
Great. Thank you so much. And on that note, thank you everyone for joining in for this conversation. We'll see you soon with new guests and more insights. But before you go, do like, comment, and share this video. And also do not forget to subscribe our channel for more such videos. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, Dr. Saumya.
Thank you.